It is Brian White again, and Brian White, this time I would like to cover the things that I didn't cover on Monday night. So, was that okay with you?
I think that's reasonably acceptable. I'll tolerate it this once, Mr. Kirk.
Just this once. All right. So, we have Model Y has been out the gate now for weeks. There's been a lot of commentary. There's been a lot. I understand that you, by now, by the time this is on, you will have had your test drive of one. So we can't, unfortunately, ask you for the results because we're recording on Monday. But I'm curious to know though what you're hearing or sensing from the ramp and the sales. Are you hearing good things, bad things about either or both, or let me know.
On which one? The Model Y?
Model Y, yes. Model Y,
Oh, okay.
Juniper,
So
yes.
my overnight test drive scheduled for Monday is for the Model 3 because,
Oh, it's a Model 3. Oh.
yes, because the 7-seat Model Y is still off in the distance at some unknown time. That would be what I would rather have. But I want to know what the actual range is on the Model 3. It's apparently got fantastic range, the rear-wheel drive version, and I'll find out. So what am I hearing is that the ramp is going well. It's not back up to full speed yet. It will be soon. I'd say give it another month. Part of that can be just getting all the parts in. There can be part slowdown. If you're missing one part, you have no car. So these are new parts. These are newly in production. And while Tesla does diversify their supply chain, they may get one part from 2 or 3 different suppliers. They still have to get them. What am I hearing in terms of demand? Very good things. Oh, you'll notice in the US, as of at least Monday, Launch Edition is still the only vehicle you can order.
Oh.
Uh, Once we get past Launch Edition, then we'll see a better picture of what the actual demand is. I know a lot of people who are waiting for Launch Edition to end. I don't wish to spend the extra 8,000 or whatever it is to get all these features. I think it's more like 10 to get all these extra features that I wouldn't otherwise get.
Mhm.
In terms of FSD alone at $8,000, you'd have to have the car for 80 months to break even on that investment. Because you can currently rent it, lease the service for $100 a month.
Right.
So for a lot of people, the Launch Edition doesn't make sense. We'll know we're ramped when Launch Edition ends. But these cars are flying off the lots. I've seen more than one car carrier on Interstate 5 hauling them north. Uh, and when you do drive from the Pacific Northwest down to California, you will see so many Tesla car haulers because they send them via truck rather than train along that route. Makes them very visible. So yeah, demand looks robust. You've seen the reviews. Even the most cynical reviews are like, well, it's got a lot of things I didn't care for. So I guess 8 out of 10. Eight, that's the worst word. That's a really good review, man. Uh, and of course, then you read it and you have to find that they're nitpicking to take a couple points off,
Yeah.
which is fair. I mean, great, fine.
We had a couple of stories for BYD last week. Both of them were a bit confusing to me, but I know you've dug into them. So the first one was the BYD charger, where they're encouragingly saying that they've got a charger, 1,000 kWh charger that can do full charge in 5 seconds. I'm 5 seconds. In
Well,
five
I mean, yeah,
in 5 minutes. And that would be great. I'm excited. I think that's would be wonderful for the industry. But some people were saying they were not so confident, and other people were saying they're not sure they have anything that Tesla couldn't have if Tesla decided to move it up to 1,000 kWh. So what did your
yes,
research show?
yes. And I have researched this quite a bit. So, the first question is if you wanted to fake it, Randy, let's say you and I are, uh, you know, RKBW Automotive, and we want to fake that battery with just the technology we have. We don't have anything special. Building the charger, easy enough. Uh, Deploying a handful of them so you can say they exist, easy enough. But the battery itself, what's going to happen? You can charge a Tesla much, much faster if you want. You're just going to sacrifice cycle life.
Hmm.
Now, an LFP battery is already good for like 1 million miles. If you were to cut that in half, you've still got more cycles than a car is reasonably expected to do.
Right.
So even if you degrade the battery by charging it too aggressively. So let's say we do it. You and I make that megawatt charger car. And it doesn't charge at a megawatt for the entire duration, and it doesn't charge the whole car in 5 minutes. It gives you your 20 to 80.
Mhm.
Gives you that middle sweet spot, that 60%. You had 250 miles of range in 5 minutes.
Mhm.
That's fantastic.
Mhm.
So let's say you and I do that and we start selling those cars. Do you realize what percentage of buyers will never use that megawatt charger or use it once or twice? We're not going to have to pay out warranty on those guys, are we? Only the people who actually use it and use it aggressively
Yeah.
on our car, ours that can't handle it and never should have had it in the first place. So, but we're still going to sell it. Now we're going to have some extra battery replacements under warranty padded into the price. So what we're seeing is BYD is using an LFP. It almost certainly is causing some damage that will shorten the life of the battery, but not to less than the warranty plus. And it is only available on two models, their most expensive models, which may have the premium priced in for premature replacement should they fail. And in the meantime, you get some fantastic bragging rights. And because it's only on the most premium cars, it's reasonable to assume that these batteries do have special sauce that makes them more expensive. So what I ask people is, let's say I can get you a new Tesla tomorrow that does that has megawatt charging, that can charge in 5 minutes, 20 to 80% in 5 minutes, add 250 miles in 5 minutes. How much more are you willing to pay? Will you pay $1,000? Probably. Will you pay $20,000? No. So there's a sweet spot in there, and that's why BYD is rolling it out in some cars, but not all cars. And the last part of the equation is a megawatt. That's too much, even if you've got a really high voltage connection to a really stable grid. 1, 2 cars charging at that rate, it's too much. You can't do it. And BYD's solution is they're deploying their version of megapacks to these locations so that they can trickle charge from the grid and have all that power available when a car plugs in. Because if you've got 10 stalls, you're never going to have more than probably 2 of them running at a megawatt. But you could have the other 8 later in their curve pulling a substantial amount. And as soon as it gets low enough or any stalls open, the mega pack starts recharging. The only time you would ever see that the cars are not doing megawatt charging is if all of the cars that hit it back to back on a holiday weekend are all mega charge enabled vehicles, which is never going to happen. So they're able to grid smooth from there, and they've got all the pieces. If this announcement was from anyone other than BYD, I would struggle to believe it. But BYD is not known for making pie in the sky promises 100 years out. This car is coming out like next month, and BYD is big enough and powerful enough. Their engineering is good enough that I do not doubt this is real. What I doubt is how effective it will be and how affordable it will be to manufacture.
So when I haven't charged that much on superchargers, maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 times over the 4 years I've had the car. I have on really good superchargers, I know at around 1,000, 1,100 miles per hour of charge, which would mean a 250-mile charge would take 15 minutes. So if that was able to be doubled, I'd already be down to 7 minutes for a 250-mile charge. So it seems like we're not that far away if Tesla chose to do it.
The difference is that doesn't count your ramp because your charge rating will fall off over time.
Hmm.
So what you're getting is, yeah, those charges will fall. If let's say you've got that Tesla or the BYD 1,000 watt charging system,
Mhm.
the megawatt charging system, and you go to a station that does not support megawatt charging, what it means is you plug in, you'll get 250 kilowatts. It'll hold that level of charge longer.
Hmm.
So on that car, you will genuinely get very fast charging all the way through the curve up until probably 75, 80%, where on any other car, the charge rate would start dropping a lot sooner.
Got it. Okay. Well, the other news from BYD was their new BYD factory. When I saw this factory and the number, I don't even remember the numbers. They were so crazy. My first thought was, I don't know that normal vehicles 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when they finish building all those factories, I'm not sure that regular vehicles with steering wheels and pedals will be that much in demand. I worried about them overbuilding facilities for the future. Anyway, what were your thoughts?
The size is 32,000 acres. 32,000 acres. For reference, the city of San Francisco is about 25,000 acres. So it is fairly large. It is a fairly large factory. On my video I showed Giga Texas, which is like this big, and then the BYD factory, which is comically large. Miles by miles is the size of it. And it won't be 5, 10 years. It'll be 2 to 3 years for the whole thing because the structures are already mostly done. The apartments are mostly done. The tennis court is in, which is great because what you need is one tennis court for 50,000 people, 100,000 people. So that's going to have a long wait list if you want to check in for that. So there's going to be this factory does appear to be too much. It appears to be too much, but I wouldn't worry about the steering wheel part of it because these lines can build cars without steering wheels when the time is right. Whether BYD solves their own system or buys from a Chinese company or licenses Tesla's FSD, these factories can still build it. What I'm more worried about is the inefficiency of the design philosophy. BYD is already very labor heavy. They've got almost 1 million employees, where Tesla has 130,000. So, well, yes, but BYD also makes batteries, a whole lot of batteries. Yeah, but Tesla makes other things too. Tesla makes batteries, not
Yeah.
as many as BYD, but they're trying to. Uh, BYD is not as automated as they should be. That should come in the future. But these lines are all linear. These are all flat, straight, traditional, straight line, build a car kind of lines, where Tesla's factories are much taller, much more robust. You can see that they're utilizing cubic space in a way that BYD isn't. So I know there was an announcement from the in regards to the BYD factory in Mexico. Got a video that came out about that Monday around noon. So you haven't seen it yet because we're recording it before that, where it explains that there's a rumor that China's concerned that BYD's tech would be stolen by US auto manufacturers if they built a factory in Mexico. And I believe that concern is overblown. It is clear Tesla has no interest in their design philosophy or their manufacturing philosophy. And US automakers don't listen to nobody. They don't take advice from nobody. So I don't know how legitimate those concerns are. And I'm not convinced that BYD's process is all that good. I think BYD was able to rise to the forefront by amassing tremendous debt, which is fine for a time, and through the strength of having their own in-house batteries at in-house battery prices.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to look to anybody for design other than Tesla, which may or may not be willing to share their factory concepts with other companies, although all 80% of their patents are available to anybody that wants to use them without any kind of payment. People would be looking to Jensen Huang and NVIDIA, who's now offering an AI factory plan similar to what Tesla has been doing from almost day one, where the entire factory has it has a digital twin and where all the systems are integrated. And so all of that kind of stuff is you're probably going to, Chevy or General Motors and Stellantis, Ford, et cetera, to the extent that they care, would probably be more inclined to go over and talk to NVIDIA than worry about BYD.
For those who don't know what a digital twin is, it's an amazing thing. When you build the car There's literally a copy of it in the computer. You start with the chassis and the VIN number, and all of the information about that chassis is loaded in. You add a bolt and you torque it down, and this is a Bluetooth wrench. It literally sends the torque measurements into the computer. It's in there, and every part that goes on the car is data managed, inventory tracked. It is all there. So when you're done, if you find that, oh, this little piece here is that we got a bad batch from the supplier. You know exactly which cars are in it. Now, this part's failure, if you don't know which car it went into, uh, do you recall 1,000 cars, 1,000,000 cars to check for one bolt that may or may not be there? The answer is often, nah, it's just not worth it. We're not required to, we're not going to. But if you know it went into 156 cars and you know which 156 cars they were, you do it. This allows Tesla, not uniquely, other companies do this as well, to have recalls that can be very, very narrow. And just, I think it was last year, Tesla had their smallest ever recall, one. One car was recalled for a bolt defect in the steering wheel under the airbag.
Mm.
And what a benefit to the consumer in terms of safety, what a benefit to the shareholder in terms of capital not being spent, what a benefit to safety for that one person. This is something that gives me high confidence. If you're building the entire factory that way, where everything has a digital twin, and you find out, oh, this one kind of light bulb creates interference with something, we know exactly where every one of those light bulbs is.
So, in terms of my understanding, my belief in Elon Musk after studying him for, I guess it's been 6 years now since I started writing my first book on Elon. Um, Elon, maybe because of his autism, and I don't want to, create any, you know, people all concerned that I'm not happy with people that are autistic. I have a nephew who's autistic. I have a stepson who is very, very, very underperforming in life. So this is not a knock, just a reality. I believe most autistic people have trouble lying.
Mm.
There's an issue with lying. Uh, uh, Overestimating, maybe not. We certainly know Elon does that, but they tend to have trouble lying. And last week, one of the FUD articles, or I think it was FUD, but you spent some time researching it, was that Tesla was being fraudulent in some of their information that they were putting out financially to the tune of about $1.4 billion.
Mhm.
So you dug into this. What did you find out?
So the couple things on that. My oldest son is autistic, severely autistic, and he has got no problem telling lies. That's for
Okay.
sure. And Elon said that he was self-diagnosed as autistic. So I don't know if he actually is. I don't know if he knows if he actually is. I know that he doesn't believe in therapy. He believes that therapy is for the weak. I would disagree, but that's just a personal philosophy of mine. I've had benefits from therapy in times of grief and loss. Uh, there was this big story, $1.4 billion in fraud uncovered by the Financial Times. And if you go to the article, you'll find, interestingly, the comments have been disabled. So maybe that's what you meant by disabled. But the no, on that, my son's autism is not what I would consider a disability. I love him very much. But the on the 1.4 billion, it looks like they don't know how to read a 10K. So when I wanted to dig into it, because I kept seeing all these posts on social media that said, "Oh my gosh, let's talk about it," and there was no discussion about it. It was idiots, high-fiving each other. That's not helpful. Can I hear from an expert? It occurred to me I could go to the subreddit r/accounting, where accountants can look at it, where accountants are discussing it. And there were multiple threads on it because everybody kept posting, going, guys, look what I just found. Right. We've got like 5 threads on this. And in it, people would actually look at the 10K and find that, yeah, there is no appearance of malfeasance here. And if Tesla was going to commit a fraud, do you think they would do it in the open like that? That doesn't even make sense. And if Price Waterhouse Cooper is willing to put their stamp of approval on it, that's a big, big deal. They're not, I ain't going to jail for you, buddy. I ain't going to jail for you. So and it doesn't make sense. A $1 trillion company doing a $1.4 billion fraud that is apparent on the spreadsheet on the finance. I mean, come on, it doesn't make any sense. But of course, the big dummies out there who just hate everything uh, believe that their degree from Dunning-Kruger University is actually worth something.
Okay. All right. Enough of that one then. Listen, the number one, what I know, maybe the number two, because I think, oh, well, let me think this through. No, I'm sorry. A lot of folks are still concerned about Cybertruck's sales.
Mm.
It has been pointed out that Cybertruck was the number one selling BEV truck last year in its very first year, even though it was a ramp year. But that's not good enough. And quite frankly, I think you were expecting more. I was definitely expecting more units last year. What do you think is happening now? Do you think we're turning a corner? Do you think there was some problems that may have slowed up production because they have not offered an 70,000 or a 60,000 version? We have not seen any tremendous evidence of a ramp, but I don't know what I'm talking about, so you talk about it.
So first of all, I agree. You don't know what you're talking. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's fun. On my channel, people really get down on me for being a smart aleck to you. And on your channel, people seem to not mind as much. It's
No,
weird.
no, they know me well.
And I jest with love. If you don't know that by now, my gosh, people, there's a reason he invites me back. The initial delay was production constraint. There were a lot of people who were desperate to get them, willing to pay well over sticker price just to get one, and people willing to sell it because the markup was so tremendous that even at the risk of being banned from buying another car ever again, hey man, 50 grand, 100 grand, I'll take it. We are way past that. When the price came down to 80, we did see another wave of buyers, but not a real increase in buyers. When it got to 80 with the federal credit, we saw another wave of buyers because now you got another 7,250, 7,500 you can deduct from that price. But we are absolutely stagnating. Um, at 72,500, what is that? What is this? 70? Yeah.
Yeah.
There are just not enough buyers. It is no longer production constrained. I know people who work on the second shift who've been cut down to part-time. It could be that, well, maybe first shift has gotten really efficient. Yeah, but you'd think they'd want two super efficient high volume shifts. Uh, they definitely need to continue cutting price if they want to continue growing sales. But now there is the very real headwind that people don't want to be seen in it anymore. Celebrities, perhaps, but the amount of negative attention you get. I did an overnight test drive. I live in a very red county, in a small town, a rural town, and I was getting thumbs down and audible boos. I don't need that in my life. If I also don't need a truck. If I needed a truck today, it would have to be something I would think about where, a year ago it would have been a no-brainer. And that's me. I'm obviously quite favorable towards Tesla. I just don't need that kind of negative attention in my life. So maybe if we could, mm, you know, moderate our tones a bit and get back to an age of civility, but I don't see that happening. I'm not sure if that's even possible ever again. And until it is, the it's going to be a long time before enough of them get out on the road that people finally ignore them. In my Model Y, I've never had attention. I've never had negative attention anywhere I've gone ever because there's so many of them out there. It looks like just a car. But a Cybertruck is, and I may need to be fact checked on this, pretty unmistakable.
Pretty unmistakable.
Okay, so that is correct. Okay, I wanted to make sure I had that right.
Yeah. Okay. So, your earlier thought, though, in terms of the TAM at various price points, your 72.5, of course, is certainly a lower price point than 80. But the original idea of a $60,000 version, do you think it's one of these cases where if we switch to the 60,000, when we haven't we used to call it in the business, well, I used to call it in the business when I was really introducing new products, you cream, you cream it. You take the
Right.
cream off the top. So you don't want to come out with that next version until you've gotten all the cream.
Right.
You think that could be part of how they're doing it because it was a very expensive ramp and they keep it profitable?
Yes. I believe that up until a couple months ago, a few months ago. You will do that as long as you can, but now we are not supply constrained. We are demand constrained. Uh, what I think they would be wise to do is maybe keep the all-wheel drive at 80,000 and then do the single motor at 60 or whatever you need to do. It doesn't cost 20,000 extra to build a second motor version over a single motor, but they have got operational efficiencies that they've been able to eke out over the past year that would allow them to then have an even larger premium on the all-wheel without cutting too deep on the single motor. The single motor is going to be dog slow compared to the dual motor because of course it will. How could it
So of
not?
course it will, yes.
It's not the traction that's your limitation. So, but having one at 60, and I think a big part of the frustration is a lot of buyers thought it was going to be 40,000. And
Mhm.
not only 40,000, but that for 52,000, it would have FSD and already be a robotaxi
Yeah,
2 years ago.
yeah.
And for those buyers, there are people who reserve 50, 100 of them. I assume those people have requested refunds on some or all of their reservations because it was it was a degree of confidence that they feel that they may have misplaced.
Yeah, and as we think about it, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, yeah, some people would be concerned about the thumbs down or whatever. But it might even be more pronounced in that a lot of people that are buying a Cybertruck that who will never go off-road, that will never use it for a construction job, they were just buying it to be cool. And if the cool factor has been reduced by the current uh, political environment, then I could see that cutting down on this on the total. Yeah,
Yeah, the cool factor is a big part of it. And if it's not cool, you're right. I think that's a great point.
yeah. Okay, we had a new order come in today for mega packs from Australia.
Hmm.
I believe it was $135 million just for the one order.
Oh, so a small order.
Small order. I figured that out. That would be roughly 30,000 vehicles. If there was a headline that said that Hertz had decided to go back into the Tesla car rental business and they were going to buy 30,000 vehicles, it would be a headline. The stock would be up on it. But if it's $130 million worth of Tesla batteries, whatever.
That's actually a really funny way to look at it, and you're not wrong. I think it's about so the Hertz headline was punctuated by Tom Brady, by a Super Bowl ad with Tom Brady, um, and everyone knows Tom Brady's a man of integrity. You can't just buy that man off. But let's pretend for a second that uh, people don't see megapacks. They're not visible. You could drive by a power station that has them every day for a year and not know that they're there. And even if you knew they were there, you wouldn't think about them. So it's not sexy. It's not exciting. Uh, and honestly, 135 million for megapacks isn't that big of a project anymore. We're seeing projects that big and bigger all the time. So many that when I tried to look up to see if there was any way to model how many are being deployed, there isn't. The press releases are inconsistent and nonstop. If you just add them all up, you're going to get a very big number, but nowhere close to what they're actually deploying. Uh, so that's, yeah, just that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I've got. I'm out of subject matter. I don't know. Do you have something that I should have talked about that I didn't?
No, I would say that starting with the high end premium cars, Randy, and taking the cream off the top, that's what any car company would love to do, but they can't because they're beholden to their dealers. Not having dealers, it's in Tesla's genetics. It's what they do. So they cream their genes and then it all goes from there. So it works great.
On that note, follow him Probably. I mean, he is a little funny from time to time. I've been told. I'm not sure. Brian, thank you so much. To all of you out there, thank you as well for putting up with me and sometimes him. It's been great talking to you.